the golden glow of a mansion's driveway, the engines of multiple Dodge Hellcats roared in unison, a thunderous chorus of wealth, power, and pride. Bill Omar Carrasquillo, better known online as Omi in a Hellcat, stood beside them, smiling into the lens. His YouTube channel had made him one of the internet's flashiest self-made millionaires. Every video showcased another car, another property, another proof that hard work and hustle could pay off. To his fans, he was living the American dream. To federal agents, he was a ticking time bomb built on fraud, piracy, and lies. Omar's rise was fast, spectacular, and deeply American. Growing up in North Philadelphia, he faced poverty and instability. His father was a drug dealer, his mother a victim of addiction. Omar's childhood was a revolving door of hardship and survival. By his teens, he was already hustling to make ends meet, selling mixtapes, running small ventures, and learning how to stretch every dollar. What he lacked in education, he made up for in charisma and street smarts, the kind that could convince people to believe in him. YouTube became his stage. He began uploading videos in 2016, showing fans how he'd made it through a mix of tech entrepreneurship and relentless work. His massive collection of cars, Dodge Hellcats, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, became his signature. His house, with its marble floors and towering ceilings, was a recurring symbol of triumph. He often said, "They used to doubt me, now they watch me." Millions did. But behind the lens, the source of Omar's fortune was murkier than anyone realized. Years before his fame, he had quietly founded a company called Gears TV Reloaded. The business claimed to offer affordable access to television channels, thousands of them, including premium cable and pay-per-view networks, all for a fraction of the price of major providers. To his customers, it was an irresistible deal. To authorities, it was massive digital theft. What Gears TV actually did was intercept legitimate cable and satellite signals, then restream them illegally to paying subscribers. It was, in effect, a modern version of cable piracy, a scheme generating tens of millions in revenue. Omar, alongside a small group of partners, had built a digital empire that operated in the shadows of copyright law. He accepted payments, rerouted them through shell companies, and presented everything online as just another tech startup. His customers believed it was legitimate. Many even thanked him for beating the system. By 2019, Omar's empire was too big to ignore. Federal agencies, including the FBI and IRS, had begun quietly monitoring his activities. His flashy videos, showing piles of cash and endless cars, only drew more attention. To investigators, it was the ultimate irony, a man publicly broadcasting the spoils of a federal crime to millions of viewers. Then came the morning of November 19, 2019. The sun was barely up when dozens of federal agents surrounded Omar's mansion in Swedesboro, New Jersey. Doors were breached. Cars were towed away. Computers, TVs, and jewelry were seized. Omar, caught off guard, filmed parts of the raid on his phone, posting the aftermath online. "They just raided my house, took everything," he told his followers, his voice trembling with disbelief. "They took my cars, my money, everything. I'm not a criminal. I worked hard for this." The internet erupted. His fans rallied behind him, convinced the government was punishing another successful black entrepreneur. But as the details emerged, the truth was harder to deny. Investigators revealed a staggering operation. Omar's illegal cable business had generated over $30 million in revenue. His software circumvented copyright protections, defrauding major networks like Comcast and Verizon. The profits were laundered through various bank accounts, disguised as legitimate tech income. When the indictment was unsealed, it listed over 62 charges, including conspiracy, wire fraud, money laundering, and tax evasion. The flashy millionaire image began to crumble. Omar tried to maintain his innocence publicly, claiming he didn't realize his business model was illegal. But the emails, server records, and money trails told a different story. For years, Omar had failed to pay federal income taxes. He lived lavishly while reporting almost nothing to the IRS. Investigators estimated he owed over $15 million in unpaid taxes alone. His empire wasn't just illegal, it was meticulously engineered to look clean. But digital footprints are hard to erase. In 2022, after multiple delays and plea negotiations, Omar stood before a federal judge in Philadelphia. The courtroom was silent as he addressed the court, not as Omi in a Hellcat, the internet celebrity, but as a man confronting the weight of his choices. I was wrong, he admitted. I made mistakes and I take full responsibility. He pled guilty to multiple counts of conspiracy, copyright infringement, and tax evasion. The sentence, 5.5 years in federal prison, plus over $30 million in restitution and forfeitures. Every car, every property, every symbol of his wealth, gone. As he was led away, reporters shouted questions. He stayed quiet, head bowed, no longer performing for the camera. His channel, once filled with high-energy vlogs and motivational talk, went silent. His final video, titled "It's Over," remains online, a strange mix of regret and resignation. I wanted to inspire people, he said in that video, but I got caught up in trying to look like I had it all. Maybe this is what it takes to realize what really matters. Behind bars, Omar began writing and reflecting. In occasional phone interviews, he described prison as both punishment and peace, a forced silence after years of noise. I was living too fast, he said. I needed to stop. His fall became a cautionary tale across the YouTube community, a reminder that fame, when mixed with greed and unchecked ego, can turn toxic fast. Fans who once cheered for his cars now discuss the blurred line between influencer and criminal entrepreneur. His story embodied a new kind of modern crime, one born in the digital age, powered by attention, and destroyed by the same spotlight that made it possible. Today, Omi and a Hellcat's empire exists only in screenshots and memories. His cars are gone, his mansion sold off, his name marked by scandal. Yet in the strange economy of the internet, even infamy has value. His downfall videos continue to rack up views, each click a quiet reminder of how far he fell and how fast. In the end, the story of Omi and a Hellcat isn't just about crime or punishment. It's about the illusion of success, and how, in the age of viral fame, trust can be as easily pirated as a television signal. The camera always loved Vitaly Zdorovetskiy. He knew exactly how to stare into a lens, unblinking, mischievous, and alive with the thrill of chaos. In the early 2010s, when YouTube's Wild West was still taking shape, Vitaly carved his name into the internet's concrete with a single formula: shock, laugh, repeat. His pranks weren't just outrageous. They were dangerous, unpredictable, and often deeply human. He made millions laugh and gasp, and for a while, it seemed like he could do no wrong. Until one day, the same instinct that made him famous began to destroy everything he'd built. Vitaly's story began far from the world of luxury cars and viral fame. Born in Murmansk, Russia in 1992, his childhood was a blur of poverty and constant movement. His family immigrated to the United States when he was a boy, settling in Florida, where he grew up in a world that was equal parts promise and pressure. He was ambitious, not academically but instinctively. By his teens, he had dropped out of college and thrown himself into an unpredictable mix of odd jobs and wild dreams. Then came YouTube. It was 2011, and prank videos were exploding across the platform. Vitaly watched channels like Jack Vale and Roman Atwood transform everyday chaos into viral success, and he decided he could do it better. His first big hit, Miami Zombie Attack, played on real-world fears from a news story, a staged zombie chasing terrified pedestrians down the streets of Miami. The video went viral almost overnight. Vitaly was no longer just another kid with a camera. He was a phenomenon. His persona, Vitaly TV, became synonymous with extremes. There were pranks involving fake bombs, fake crimes, and public meltdowns. He streaked across sporting events, terrified strangers, and made the kind of content that blurred the line between entertainment and harassment. But the audience loved it. Every risk, every scream, every nervous laugh was rewarded with millions of views. With success came money and ego. Vitaly began living large, driving sports cars, surrounding himself with models, and talking openly about being the king of pranks. He was one of the first YouTubers to show what viral fame could buy. But beneath the surface, the formula was wearing thin. Fans wanted more danger, more shock, more spectacle. And Vitaly, ever the adrenaline addict, kept pushing further. In 2014, his antics escalated. During the FIFA World Cup final in Brazil, Vitaly sprinted onto the field shirtless, with the phrase, "natural-born prankster" painted across his chest. Millions of people saw it live on television before security tackled him. He spent the night in a Brazilian jail. To his fans, it was legendary. To authorities, it was criminal trespassing. He laughed it off, as he always did. Jail time became a badge of honor, a line in his brand identity. But the arrests didn't stop there. Over the next few years, Vitaly faced a growing list of charges: trespassing, public indecency, and disorderly conduct. He became addicted to risk itself, and the need to stay relevant kept him teetering on the edge of legality. In 2016, he released a feature-length movie titled Natural-Born Pranksters Under Lionsgate. It was meant to cement his legacy, YouTube's bad boy going mainstream. But the film flopped and critics tore it apart. It wasn't funny anymore. The same formula that once felt rebellious now seemed cruel and stale. And with the failure came something darker: depression, substance abuse, and a growing disconnect from reality. Behind the scenes, Vitaly began struggling with addiction. He spoke later about using steroids, about mental health issues that spiraled out of control, about the loneliness that fame couldn't fix. The man who once laughed in the face of danger now found himself lost in a cycle of self-destruction. Then, in 2020, came the breaking point. On an April evening in Miami Beach, police responded to a call about a woman who had been attacked while jogging. Witnesses described a man ambushing her without warning, assaulting her brutally before fleeing the scene. The attacker was quickly identified and arrested. His name was Vitaly Zdorovetskiy. The internet exploded. Fans couldn't believe it. The man who had made millions laugh was now accused of a violent, unprovoked attack. The police report described injuries, bruises, and trauma that painted a horrifying picture. Vitaly was charged with felony battery. He spent the night in jail, then was released on bond. For weeks, he remained silent. The media speculated. Some said he'd suffered a breakdown. Others said it was steroid rage. His reputation, once untouchable, crumbled overnight. Sponsorships vanished. YouTube demonetized his content. Even fellow creators distanced themselves. Vitaly's empire of laughter had turned into a ghost town of outrage. When he finally spoke, it was through a short, emotional video. "I made a terrible mistake. I'm getting help. I'm not proud of what I did." He entered rehab shortly after, admitting to years of drug abuse, depression, and an inability to separate his online persona from his real self. "I became addicted to being crazy," he said. "I thought I had to outdo myself every time. I didn't realize I was destroying myself and hurting others." The case took months to resolve. The victim eventually recovered physically, but the emotional scars remained. Vitaly's plea deal resulted in probation and mandatory counseling. He avoided prison, but his image never recovered. His audience had moved on. In 2021, he attempted a comeback. His videos were quieter, more controlled. Travel vlogs, fitness content, attempts to show a calmer side. But the comments told a different story. "We can't forget what you did. You ruined everything. This isn't funny anymore." For once, Vitaly seemed humbled by the weight of his own history. He now lives mostly out of the spotlight, occasionally posting to a much smaller audience. His old videos still circulate, relics of a time when internet fame had no brakes, when chaos was currency. But for many, they're hard to watch. Every laugh now carries an echo, the memory of how easily entertainment can become exploitation. Vitaly's downfall wasn't a single moment. It was a slow erosion. Each stunt chipped away at his sense of boundaries until there were none left. The man who once ruled YouTube with fearlessness had become the very cautionary tale he used to mock, a living example of what happens when you mistake attention for validation and shock value for purpose. He often says now, in interviews and posts, that he's trying to become a better person. Maybe he is. Maybe that's the quiet ending to a story that began too loud. But one truth remains. The same platform that made him untouchable also made his fall inevitable. For years, Vitaly's motto was, "Do it for the views." In the end, those views cost him everything. In Vietnam's bustling online world, where every gesture, dance, and smile can turn a person into a national sensation overnight, one name once stood above the rest: Khá Bảnh. His real name was Ngoba Kha, a boy from a small town in Bac Ninh who rose from poverty and street fights to become a YouTube phenomenon. His videos were part swagger, part chaos, and entirely addictive. He embodied rebellion. Tattoos, slicked hair, flashy clothes, wild dancing. He was everything young people were told not to be. And yet millions followed him. But Khá Bảnh fame came with a shadow that was growing faster than his subscriber count. A shadow made of gambling, crime, and a dangerous illusion of invincibility. By the time his YouTube channel hit 2 million subscribers, The man behind the swagger had already lost control of his own creation. Khá was born in 1993 in the quiet countryside of Tamson, Bac Ninh province. His childhood was steeped in hardship. His father passed away early, and his mother struggled to raise him and his siblings. School wasn't for him. He dropped out after grade 7 and drifted between jobs: construction, labor, delivery work. But he carried a charm that made him magnetic. People listened when he spoke. He made others laugh. And in the social media age, that charisma was enough to build an empire. He started uploading short videos on Facebook, mostly of himself dancing in the street, joking with friends, or giving advice to his fans, always with that strange mix of arrogance and sincerity. He called himself Anh Sa Hoi, a social brother, a man of the streets. Soon his clips went viral across Vietnam. Teenagers mimicked his hairstyle, his slang, his peculiar dance moves known as Khá Bảnh style. By 2018, he had shifted to YouTube, where his channel exploded. He wasn't producing traditional entertainment. His content was raw and unfiltered, filled with cigarette smoke, laughter, and casual references to violence, gambling, and loyalty. For many young viewers, he was the face of rebellion, someone who defied authority and lived freely. For older generations and authorities, he was a symbol of moral decay. Khá didn't care. He reveled in controversy. He boasted about his past stints in jail, wore flashy gold chains, and talked about honor among brothers. He filmed himself handing out money to poor villagers, preaching loyalty to friends, and insulting those who sold out. He became both loved and despised, an anti-hero in a country that values humility and discipline. But behind the YouTube fame, the reality was darker. Khá had been involved in illegal gambling rings, a widespread underground network that thrived on betting and extortion. He wasn't just a participant. He helped organize and profit from it. Police surveillance of online gambling operations began revealing connections that led straight to his name. At the same time, rumors spread that he was engaged in loan sharking, lending money at exorbitant rates and using threats to collect debts. He didn't hide much of it. In fact, he flaunted it. His YouTube income, combined with his gambling profits, funded an extravagant lifestyle: designer clothes, motorbikes, nights of drinking, and an ever-expanding circle of followers who treated him like a folk hero. He began to believe his own myth, that he was untouchable. Then, in April 2019, that illusion shattered. In the early morning hours, police raided Khá's home in Bac Ninh. They found evidence of online gambling operations, financial records, and illegal profits. Videos soon surfaced of the arrest, Khá in handcuffs, surrounded by officers, still trying to smile at the cameras. He was charged with organizing gambling and illegal money lending, crimes that carried severe penalties in Vietnam's strict legal system. The public reaction was explosive. Fans gathered outside police stations, crying and shouting his name. Others online mocked him, calling his downfall inevitable. Newspapers labeled him a dangerous influence on Vietnamese youth. But in the chaos of opinions, one truth became clear. Khá Bảnh wasn't just an internet celebrity. He was a mirror reflecting a generation's fascination with fame, rebellion, and easy money. In November 2019, Khá stood before the People's Court of Bac Ninh. The trial was broadcast nationally, watched by millions. He looked smaller now, his hair still styled but his face pale, his bravado muted. When the judge listed his charges, he smiled nervously, as if still trying to charm his way out of trouble. But the verdict was uncompromising: 10 years and 6 months in prison. As the sentence was read, the courtroom fell silent. His mother wept quietly. Khá nodded, smiled again, and told reporters, "I'll accept this. I made mistakes. I just wanted to live freely." His YouTube channel, once one of Vietnam's most popular, was terminated days later. His videos vanished. The dance clips that had made millions laugh became forbidden symbols, reminders of a culture war between the old and the new Vietnam. Inside prison, Khá's fame didn't entirely die. Letters from fans poured in, some pleading for his release, others calling him an inspiration who lost his way. The government used his case as a warning, a public example of what happens when fame turns into influence that challenges authority. Schools and newspapers held discussions about the dangers of online idolization. Parents pointed to him as the cautionary tale of internet illusion. Years later, occasional photos of Khá surfaced, in prison uniform, thinner, quieter, still managing a half smile. He was reportedly on good behavior, working, reflecting. In one rare interview, he said, "I was too young and proud. I thought being famous meant being powerful. I forgot what real respect means." Outside the walls, his legacy lingers like an echo. His slang still circulates, his dances resurface in TikTok parodies, and his name remains shorthand for a specific kind of fame: raw, rebellious, and self-destructive. The story of Khá Bảnh isn't just about one man's fall. It's about how digital fame, when mixed with street culture and unchecked influence, can spin dangerously out of control. His rise showed how fast the internet could turn a poor boy into a national star. His fall showed how quickly it could take everything away. When asked what he missed most about the outside world, he reportedly said, "I miss my mother's cooking and the sound of my friends laughing." For a man who once defined freedom as defiance, that was perhaps the first honest sentence he ever spoke. Khá Bành's life is now frozen in contrast: the boy who wanted to dance his way out of poverty and the man who danced straight into prison. His story remains a haunting symbol of the double-edged sword of online fame, how it lifts, blinds, and finally breaks those who mistake attention for purpose. In the streets of Bakhnin, kids still play his old videos on their phones. They laugh, imitate his moves, shout his catchphrases. But when the laughter fades, even they know he danced too close to the flame. It started like so many stories do in the digital age: a message from a famous face, a moment of flattery, a spark of connection that felt impossibly real. For countless teenagers around the world, it seemed like a dream come true. A popular YouTuber, someone they admired, was talking to them privately. His words were kind, disarming, personal. His profile pictures matched the real videos. His voice notes sounded genuine. The trust came quickly, and once he had it, he turned it into a weapon. The man behind that mask wasn't a YouTuber at all. He was Zain Ul Abideen Rasheed, a 27-year-old from Australia. Quiet, seemingly ordinary, with no fame of his own. But behind a keyboard, he became someone else entirely. Using fake profiles of popular teenage YouTubers, he built a dark network that stretched across continents, one that preyed on admiration, innocence, and fear. By the time police finally stopped him, his crimes had reached victims in over a dozen countries. Rasheed's deception began years earlier, in the shadows of the internet's growing influencer culture. Young fans, often minors, were easy targets for manipulation. Many idolized content creators, gamers, vloggers, musicians, and would do anything for their attention. Rasheed learned how to mimic them with chilling precision. He collected photos, videos, and voice clips from real YouTubers, then crafted fake accounts on platforms like Instagram, Snapchat, and Discord. The identities he stole included those of teenage creators with millions of subscribers. He would message fans directly. "Hey, I saw your comment on my video. You're so sweet." The tone was friendly, trusting. Gradually, the conversations turned personal, then intimate. He'd ask for private photos, promising secrecy, love, or inclusion in exclusive creator chats. When victims hesitated, he'd charm them. When they complied, he'd threaten them. The switch from affection to coercion was instant and terrifying. He would say things like, "If you tell anyone, I'll leak these pictures. I'll ruin you." And he didn't stop at one victim. He kept detailed files, folders of images, conversations, and threats. He used the material to blackmail victims into sending more. Many were between 13 and 17 years old. His crimes escalated quietly for years. The online world is vast, and the victims were scattered across continents: the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, New Zealand, India, and beyond. Some thought they were the only ones. Others tried to report him, but were dismissed as victims of simple catfishing. The impersonations were too convincing. Meanwhile, Rasheed lived a double life in Australia, a polite, soft-spoken man who seemed harmless to neighbors. But behind closed doors, he spent hours every night maintaining dozens of fake identities, juggling conversations, and expanding his reach. His devices contained hundreds of fake profiles, each crafted to mimic real influencers. The sophistication of his deception blurred the line between fantasy and criminal manipulation. His undoing began in 2021 when a teenage girl in the UK broke the silence. She told her parents she'd been blackmailed by someone pretending to be a YouTuber she followed. Her parents reported it to authorities, who traced the messages to an IP address in Australia. At first, it seemed like an isolated incident, but within weeks, more reports surfaced. Interpol was alerted. Patterns emerged. The same photos, same language, same threats. When Australian police launched a formal investigation, they were stunned by what they found. Rasheed's network was massive. His computer held more than 15,000 images and videos of victims. Investigators identified over 600 potential victims worldwide. Many were underage. The psychological harm was severe. Victims spoke of sleepless nights, anxiety, and lifelong trauma. The investigation revealed the terrifying efficiency of his methods. Rasheed didn't just impersonate creators. He used real fan interactions to stay believable. He studied the slang, humor, and posting schedules of the YouTubers he pretended to be. His messages were short, natural, and convincing. He understood how parasocial relationships worked, that feeling of intimacy fans develop with online creators, and he weaponized it. When police raided his home in Perth, they found rows of hard drives, SIM cards, and notebooks filled with victim details. One detective later said, "It wasn't just predation, it was systematic control." He knew what he was doing, and he knew how to make people feel trapped. The arrest made international headlines in 2022, but the full scope of his crimes didn't emerge until trial. The courtroom was filled with silence as prosecutors described the manipulation, the way he preyed on loneliness and trust, how he targeted children who just wanted connection. Parents of victims described the toll: depression, panic attacks, suicide attempts. Rasheed pled guilty to multiple counts of sexual extortion, child exploitation, identity theft, and possession of child abuse material. During sentencing, the judge called his actions calculated and cruel. The words echoed through the courtroom as the sentence was read. 17 years in prison, one of the harshest penalties ever given in Australia for online sexual extortion. The case became a wake-up call for parents, law enforcement, and tech companies alike. Platforms like YouTube and Instagram launched new safety measures, flagging impersonation accounts and tightening reporting systems. But the emotional damage was already done. For many victims, justice came with mixed feelings. Some said they still couldn't bring themselves to trust people online. One victim, speaking anonymously, said, "He took my confidence, my trust, and my childhood. I still see his messages in my nightmares." Even in prison, Rasheed reportedly struggled to comprehend the magnitude of his crimes. He told investigators he didn't think it would go that far, that it was just online. But to his victims, it was real. A violation that lived in their minds long after the screens went dark. The story of Zain Ul Abideen Rasheed is a chilling reminder that in the digital world, identity can be both weapon and disguise. He never brandished a gun or broke into a home, yet his crimes left invisible scars deeper than any physical wound. His victims lived in fear of exposure, shame, and disbelief. The power he wielded came not from fame, but from pretending to have it. In many ways, he was the mirror image of the world he exploited, a man obsessed with the illusion of being seen. He didn't want attention in his own name. He wanted to live behind someone else's. And in that anonymity, he found both his freedom and his downfall. In the quiet of his cell, there are no screens, no fake profiles, no admiring fans. Just silence, the kind that exposes the hollow space where his false fame once lived. When the judge closed the case, she said something that still lingers in headlines and documentaries. Fame can be faked. Trust can be stolen. But the damage it causes is real and it lasts forever. And for those hundreds of victims who once believed they were chatting with their favorite YouTuber, that truth will never fade. Which of these cases shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments. Every story reveals a different side of fame and how quickly it can fall apart. In India, fame on YouTube has grown into its own kind of stardom, creators becoming icons, drawing millions of followers, money, and influence. But with fame comes the temptation to blur the lines between entertainment and danger. Few cases revealed that dark crossover more shockingly than the story of Elvish Yadav, one of India's biggest YouTubers, a man who built an empire on comedy, lifestyle, and swagger, until he found himself accused in a criminal case that stunned the country, the snake venom scandal. Elvish's journey began like many internet success stories. Born in Gurugram, Haryana, he started uploading comedic sketches in 2016. Small, relatable videos about college life, friends, and social issues, spoken in the casual mix of Hindi and Haryanvi that instantly clicked with young audiences. His humor was raw but real, and his charisma set him apart. Within years, he had tens of millions of followers across YouTube and Instagram. He wasn't just a creator anymore. He was a youth icon. Brands lined up. He bought luxury cars, hosted meetups, and even won Big Boss OTT Season 2, one of India's most watched reality shows. His fan base treated him like a rock star, but behind the polished videos and celebrity parties, a different story was unfolding, one that mixed YouTube fame with the shadows of India's criminal underworld. It started with a party, not just any party, but a high-profile rave in Noida in late 2023, allegedly attended by social media influencers and wealthy youths. The party's allure wasn't only music and luxury, it had something darker: snake venom. Snake venom in this context wasn't used for harm, but as a bizarre new high. Wealthy circles had reportedly begun using diluted venom as an exotic drug. Dangerous, illegal, and nearly impossible to trace. Rumors swirled of parties where live cobras were displayed as status symbols, their handlers extracting venom in secret. On November 2, 2023, police in Noida received a tip about one such party. An NGO working with animal protection groups had reported that live snakes were being used for entertainment and possibly for drug use. Acting on the information, a joint operation by Noida Police and the Forest Department raided the location. What they found was shocking: 9 snakes, including cobras, hidden in boxes. Several vials containing liquid were seized, later confirmed as snake venom. The handler arrested on the spot was a man named Rahul, a known associate of local gang members. During interrogation, Rahul claimed he had been supplying venom for private events, and that one of his clients was none other than Elvish Yadav. The statement exploded across the media. Within hours, Elvish Yadav's snake venom case was trending on every Indian social platform. The idea that one of India's biggest YouTubers could be linked to something so bizarre and criminal was unthinkable. Elvish denied it all immediately. He went live on Instagram, visibly angry. "These are fake allegations. I don't even know these people. My name is being dragged for views." His fans flooded comment sections with support. But the investigation deepened. The police traced WhatsApp chats between the handler and individuals allegedly linked to Elvish's circle. There were voice notes, videos, and even event invitations. Forensic teams examined the seized venom samples, identifying them as authentic cobra venom, one of the most lethal substances on Earth. Soon after, 5 people were arrested in connection with the trafficking network. Among them were snake charmers, handlers, and suppliers who allegedly admitted to providing venom for parties organized at the request of influencers. Their testimonies led investigators straight to Elvish. In March 2024, Elvish Yadav was arrested under the Wildlife Protection Act and Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances (NDPS) Act, charges that could carry significant prison time if proven. The arrest shook the YouTube community. A man once celebrated as a self-made success story was now seen in handcuffs, escorted by police through a media frenzy. As he was taken into custody, reporters shouted questions. "Did you supply the venom? Were there drugs at your parties?" Elvish said nothing, just stared straight ahead, the confidence from his videos gone. Inside the police interrogation room, the reality of his fame collided with the consequences of his choices. Investigators accused him of acting as a middleman, connecting event organizers with those who could supply venom and snakes. His phone was seized, his contacts examined. Some of his associates reportedly confirmed his involvement, while others claimed he was framed. For 5 days, Elvish remained in custody as the media dissected every detail of his life. His old vlogs were replayed, quotes twisted, and former collaborators speculated about his personality off camera. Even as his legal team fought for bail, online opinion began to split. Some fans said it was a witch hunt, that the system was trying to take down a self-made influencer. Others saw it as proof that unchecked fame had turned reckless, that creators had begun believing they were untouchable. When Elvish was released on bail, he gave a statement outside the station. "I trust the law. The truth will come out. I've never done anything illegal." But the damage was already done. Sponsors pulled back. Collaborators stayed silent. His reputation, once spotless, now carried the stain of scandal. The police continued to investigate, digging deeper into the world of underground parties where influencers and gangsters intersected. The network was bigger than anyone imagined. Snake venom wasn't just a novelty, it was a growing symbol of status and rebellion among the rich and famous. The case exposed a strange, almost cinematic world. Venom sold in secret, snakes displayed at luxury events, and creators risking everything for attention. For months, the case dragged on. Videos analyzing Elvish's downfall went viral. Commentators debated whether the charges were exaggerated or if his fame had shielded him from deeper accountability. In interviews, Elvish tried to move on, uploading vlogs, maintaining appearances, even returning to music videos. But the shadow of the case lingered. The public perception had shifted. The man once seen as a voice of the youth was now a symbol of how quickly fame could turn toxic. His rise had been meteoric, but so was his fall. From luxury cars and celebrity parties to mugshots and bail hearings. Behind the headlines, investigators revealed that the case had far-reaching consequences for wildlife trafficking enforcement. The rescue of the snakes, several of which were endangered species, led to stricter monitoring of animal permits and handling laws across India. What began as a bizarre celebrity scandal ended up exposing a hidden industry built on cruelty and greed. As of 2025, Elvish Yadav continues to deny wrongdoing. The court case remains ongoing, and no final verdict has been reached. But even without conviction, the court of public opinion has delivered its own judgment. In a world where followers equate to power, Elvish's story serves as a reminder of what happens when fame crosses into arrogance, when creators forget that the same audience that builds them can also destroy them. The irony is haunting. A man who once entertained millions by pretending to live freely online ended up trapped by the very fame he created. In one of his old vlogs, years before the scandal, he joked, "Mujhe lagta hai main hamesha upar hi rahunga. I think I'll always stay on top." But when the headlines hit, the cameras turned off, and the courtroom doors closed behind him. He discovered the truth so many before him have learned too late. Fame can lift you fast, but when it falls, it doesn't break evenly. In the early days of YouTube family vlogging, Micah and James Stauffer represented everything the platform wanted to be. Their videos were warm, domestic, and deeply personal, filled with laughter, children's birthdays, and cozy morning routines. Micah, a soft-spoken mother with a gift for storytelling, built a loyal audience who adored watching her family grow. For years, the Stauffers' channel was a sanctuary of positivity. But in 2020, it became the site of one of the most disturbing controversies in YouTube's history. A story of love, exploitation, and betrayal that blurred the line between parenting and profit. It began innocently enough. Micah Stauffer was a lifestyle YouTuber from Ohio who started her channel in 2014. She filmed everything: fitness routines, motherhood advice, DIY home decor. Her husband, James, occasionally appeared, and together they presented the image of a perfect modern Christian family. In 2017, they decided to expand their family through adoption. But it wasn't just a private decision. Micah documented every step for her YouTube audience, from choosing a country to signing papers, from emotional monologues about faith to tearful updates about the challenges ahead. Her viewers followed along faithfully as the couple traveled to China to meet their new son, a little boy named Huxley. Huxley had special needs. He was diagnosed with autism and a brain cyst, but Micah described him as a gift from God. The video of their first meeting in China went viral, bringing in millions of views. Sponsors noticed. Brand deals poured in. The Stauffers' story, a picture-perfect American couple rescuing an orphaned child, became YouTube gold. For the next few years, Huxley was the centerpiece of the channel. He appeared in vlogs about family life, adoption updates, and product promotions. His face was in thumbnails, his milestones were shared with millions, and his name became inseparable from the family's brand. Each video racked up hundreds of thousands of views, bringing in both ad revenue and sponsorship income. But beneath the smiles and carefully edited moments, something was deeply wrong. As Huxley grew, viewers began noticing changes. He was sometimes absent from videos or edited out of family photos. Micah would post vague updates about struggles and hard days. She hinted at behavioral issues, saying that parenting a child with autism was more challenging than she'd imagined. Fans grew concerned, not because of the difficulties, but because the couple's tone had shifted. What began as a story of love and patience was turning into one of frustration and withdrawal. Then, in May 2020, Micah uploaded a video titled "An Update from Our Family." She sat beside her husband on the couch, eyes red from crying. "We've made the hardest decision of our lives," she said softly. "Huxley is no longer in our home. He's been rehomed with another family who can better meet his needs. The internet erupted. People were stunned, not only that they had given away their adopted son, but that they had chosen to make it a public announcement. It wasn't the way she said it. It was what she said. Rehomed sounded like something you'd say about a pet, not a child. The couple explained that Huxley's needs had become too much for them to handle, that specialists had advised a new environment, and that they had done what's best for him. But for millions of viewers who had watched the boy grow up, it felt like betrayal. The backlash was immediate and brutal. Comment sections filled with outrage. People accused the Stauffers of exploiting Huxley for views and then discarding him when the cameras stopped rolling. Advocacy groups spoke out about how children with disabilities were often treated as burdens, especially in international adoptions. Even fellow YouTubers, many of whom had once supported Micah, turned against her. As the story spread, more disturbing details emerged. Court documents revealed that Micah and James had received sponsorship deals and brand collaborations tied directly to their adoption journey, monetizing each update and milestone. Former friends claimed that Micah had been warned about Huxley's condition before adoption, but had still chosen to proceed, reportedly saying she wanted a story to share. The public outrage became a full-blown scandal. Media outlets from the Washington Post to BuzzFeed News covered the story. Hashtags like "Your Cancel Stauffers" and "Justice for Huxley" trended on Twitter. People began contacting local authorities, demanding welfare checks on the boy. Eventually, the police confirmed that Huxley had been placed with another family, one with professional training to care for children with special needs. He was reportedly safe and well, but for many that didn't erase what had happened. The idea that a child's life had been turned into a monetized storyline, only to end in abandonment, felt inhuman. In the days that followed, sponsors dropped the couple. Companies like Playtex Baby, Fabletix, and Big Lots severed all partnerships. YouTube disabled monetization on Micah's videos and removed her from the platform's preferred creator programs. Her Instagram account, once filled with bright photos of motherhood, was flooded with angry comments until she shut it down completely. Micah released one more statement. "We didn't give up on him. We made the best decision for his future." But by then, the world had stopped listening. The Stauffers' fall was more than just another YouTube controversy. It forced the internet to confront an uncomfortable truth, that family vlogging had become an industry where children, often too young to understand, were being turned into content. Huxley's story wasn't an isolated case. It was the inevitable result of a system where human lives were commodified for clicks. Over time, investigations into YouTube's child exploitation concerns grew louder. Lawmakers proposed new regulations about child labor and digital privacy. Several major YouTubers began removing their children from videos altogether, acknowledging that the Stauffer case had changed everything. Micah and James withdrew from public life. Their channels went dormant. They reportedly moved to a new town, avoiding interviews and public appearances. But their names remain infamous in online history. Not because of the life they shared, but because of the life they abandoned. As for Huxley, his new family chose to remain anonymous, protecting him from the spotlight that had once consumed his childhood. Advocates say he's thriving, away from cameras, away from pressure, and away from the world that once used his story for entertainment. Years later, when people look back on the Stauffer case, they see more than just a scandal. They see a mirror, reflecting how quickly love can become performance when an audience is watching, how compassion can be edited into content, and how a child's innocence can be turned into a product. Micah once said in an early vlog, holding Huxley in her arms, "We are so lucky to have him. He's part of our story forever." She was right, but not in the way she meant. Because now, the story of Huxley Stauffer will forever stand as one of YouTube's darkest cautionary tales, a reminder that behind every smiling thumbnail, there can be a silence too heavy to film. In the chaotic world of YouTube, there are creators who chase trends, and then there are those who chase infamy. For Jason Ethier, better known as JayStation, the two were the same thing. He wasn't interested in making people laugh or think. He wanted to make them gasp. From haunted Ouija board sessions to fake celebrity death calls, his entire channel thrived on shock. But JayStation's hunger for attention didn't just break YouTube's rules, it nearly broke the law. And when his lies caught up with him, they exposed one of the darkest obsessions of online fame, the belief that anything is justified if it gets views. JayStation began his YouTube journey like thousands of others, broke, ambitious, and determined to make it big. In 2015, he was just another guy filming prank videos in Ottawa, Canada. His early content, pretending to steal from stores, faking arrests, barely got attention. But Jay had a knack for reading the algorithm. He noticed that fear sold. Ghost hunts, paranormal challenges, and 3 a.m. videos were exploding in popularity. So he reinvented himself as a paranormal entertainer, a man who would do what others were too scared to try. His new formula was simple. Pick a creepy premise, exaggerate it beyond belief, and react like his life depended on it. It worked. Videos like Do Not Call Mickey Mouse at 3 a.m. and Talking to the Ghost of Tupac using a Ouija board earned millions of views. Critics called it fake. Fans called it fun. Jay called it success. But the deeper he fell into the YouTube machine, the more desperate he became. His uploads grew stranger, riskier. He began breaking into abandoned buildings, filming fake police encounters, and provoking outrage to stay relevant. Then, in 2016, his obsession crossed a line that even YouTube couldn't ignore. That year, Jason Ethier was arrested in Ottawa for trespassing while filming inside a restricted government building. He had planned to turn the stunt into a viral urban exploration video, sneaking into offices at night, pretending to uncover secrets. Instead, security found him mid-recording. He was charged, arrested, and later released on bail. The incident might have ended his career, but instead it became his brand. Jay leaned into the outlaw image. He bragged about being too real for YouTube, called himself uncensored, and doubled down on dangerous stunts. In 2018, he launched a new channel, JayStation, and promised fans even crazier content. It was around this time that his videos took a disturbing turn. He began uploading fake tributes to recently deceased celebrities, claiming to contact their spirits for views. When rapper Mac Miller died, Jay uploaded a 3 a.m. Ouija board challenge, claiming to speak to him from beyond the grave. The backlash was enormous. Fans, media, even other creators condemned him for exploiting real death for entertainment. But Jay didn't stop. Every wave of outrage only brought more clicks. He was untouchable, or so he thought. Then, in January 2020, JayStation uploaded a video that would end his career. With tears in his eyes, he told his audience that his girlfriend, Alexia Morano, had been killed by a drunk driver. "It doesn't feel real," he said, sobbing on camera. "She was everything to me." He followed up with multiple videos about her death, including one where he claimed to contact her spirit using a Ouija board. The internet mourned. Fans left thousands of condolence comments. Other YouTubers offered support. News outlets began to pick up the story, but something felt off. No police reports, no obituaries, no confirmation. And then, just a few days later, Alexia herself appeared online, very much alive. She revealed that Jay had faked her death. According to Alexia, Jay had begged her to go along with the stunt to boost his channel. When she refused, he staged everything himself, editing fake news clippings, filming fake tears, and convincing the world his girlfriend was dead for views. When she confronted him, he allegedly became controlling and threatening. Their relationship fell apart almost instantly. Police soon got involved. Alexia accused Jay of harassment and assault, leading to his arrest by Ottawa police on charges of assault and assault with a weapon. While those charges were later dropped, the damage to his reputation was irreversible. YouTube demonetized his channel and removed several of his videos. Sponsors disappeared overnight. His subscriber count plummeted as fans realized they had been manipulated on a horrifying level. The man who built a career on fabricating fear had finally become his own monster. In a follow-up video titled Goodbye, Jay claimed the entire situation was a misunderstanding. "I just wanted to make entertaining content," he said. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone." But no one believed him anymore. The fake death scandal became one of the biggest YouTube controversies of the decade, sparking debates about ethics, exploitation, and the dangers of algorithmic obsession. For the next few years, Jay tried to make a comeback. He rebranded under new channels, promising positive content and a new start. But his past haunted him. Every upload was flooded with reminders of Alexia's fake death. Every apology was met with skepticism. In interviews, he blamed depression, alcohol, and the pressure to stay famous. "YouTube rewards extremes," he said. "If you don't go viral, you disappear." In a way, he was right. JayStation's story wasn't just about one man's deception. It was about a system that rewarded lies because they were entertaining. His videos thrived because people couldn't look away, even when they knew they were being tricked. By 2023, Jay disappeared almost entirely from the platform. His old videos remain, ghostly reminders of a time when shock content ruled unchecked. Occasionally, he resurfaces on smaller platforms, posting cryptic updates or attempts at apology. But the audience that once fueled him has long moved on. For YouTube, the JayStation saga became a turning point. The platform began tightening its rules around harmful and deceptive content, citing his case as one of the catalysts. It forced creators and audiences alike to confront a question no one wanted to ask: how far are we willing to go for attention? In one of his last public appearances, Jay sat in a small, dimly lit room during a podcast interview. His tone was quiet, almost remorseful. "I thought I was being creative," he said, "but I was just destroying myself. I didn't care about right or wrong. I cared about being relevant." The host asked him what he'd say to his younger self, the version who first picked up the camera. Jay thought for a moment, then said softly, "I'd tell him, views aren't worth your soul." It was too late for redemption, but not too late for reflection. JayStation's story remains one of the most infamous in YouTube history, not just because of the lies he told, but because of the truth he revealed about the culture that created him. A culture where empathy can be edited out, where death becomes a thumbnail, and where one man's downfall is just another video in the feed. At the height of his fame, Logan Paul seemed untouchable, a living embodiment of YouTube's power to turn a teenager with a camera into a millionaire celebrity. By 2017, he wasn't just a creator. He was a phenomenon. With over 15 million subscribers, a clothing line, global tours, and legions of teenage fans chanting his name in malls, Logan represented everything glamorous about influencer culture. But on the last day of 2017, in a quiet corner of Japan, he made a decision that would shatter his image forever. One that transformed him overnight from YouTube's golden boy into its most hated figure. Logan Paul was born in 1995 in Ohio, athletic, loud, and endlessly confident. From a young age, he had one obsession: getting attention. He began posting comedic sketches on Vine, the short-form video app that thrived on 6-second energy. Logan's blend of charm and chaos quickly stood out. When Vine shut down in 2016, he smoothly transitioned to YouTube, bringing his audience, and his larger-than-life persona, with him. His vlogs were pure adrenaline, wild stunts, loud humor, daily uploads packed with energy and ego. He called his fans the Logang, branding himself as both a leader and a friend. For millions of teenagers, he was the definition of cool. But behind the success, critics saw something darker: a creator obsessed with pushing limits, a young man treating life like a never-ending stage. By late 2017, Logan had become one of the highest-paid YouTubers in the world. He'd moved to a mansion in Los Angeles, surrounded by luxury cars, influencers, and a camera crew. He was chasing virality like a drug. Every vlog needed to be bigger, crazier, louder, and that hunger for shock would lead him somewhere no one could follow. In December 2017, Logan and his friends traveled to Japan for what was meant to be a cultural adventure vlog. The trip began like all his others, chaotic and disrespectful. He filmed himself throwing Pokeballs at strangers, wearing offensive costumes, and mocking Japanese traditions. Locals and tourists criticized his behavior, but he laughed it off. "It's just jokes," he said. The line between comedy and cruelty blurred completely. Then came the day that changed everything. On December 31st, 2017, Logan uploaded a video titled, "We Found a Dead Body in the Japanese Suicide Forest." The location was Aokigahara Forest, at the base of Mount Fuji, a place known worldwide for its haunting association with suicide. The video began like any other vlog, full of nervous laughter and over-the-top commentary. But a few minutes in, the tone shifted. As Logan and his team walked deeper into the woods, they came across the body of a man hanging from a tree, a real suicide victim. Instead of turning off the camera, Logan filmed it. He zoomed in on the body. He cracked nervous jokes. He blurred the face, but kept the footage. "Yo, are you guys seeing this right now?" he said to the camera, wearing a green alien hat. His friends laughed uncomfortably. "This is a first for me," he added, smiling. Within hours, the video had millions of views. But what came next was unlike anything YouTube had ever seen. The outrage was instant and global. Viewers accused him of mocking a man's death. Psychologists, suicide prevention groups, and even fellow creators condemned him. It wasn't just a bad decision. It was seen as a moral collapse. The backlash reached every corner of the internet. Celebrities like Aaron Paul and Sophie Turner called him disgusting and inhuman. YouTube was flooded with angry commentary. Fans who once adored him unsubscribed in protest. Even Japan's government officials weighed in, calling his actions deeply disrespectful. Within 24 hours, Logan took down the video, but it was too late. Copies had already spread everywhere. He uploaded an apology, first written, then a tearful video where he said, "I've made a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment. I promise to be better." But the internet wasn't in a forgiving mood. The fallout was brutal. YouTube removed him from its preferred ad program, suspended his projects, and halted his original series, The Thinning, New World Order. Sponsors pulled out. He lost millions in revenue overnight. His face, once a symbol of success, became a warning label for excess. Behind the scenes, the collapse hit Logan hard. He retreated from public life, stopped uploading for weeks, and began facing the mental weight of what he'd done. He later admitted in interviews that he fell into depression. "The whole world hated me," he said, and I understood why. But the story didn't end there. What followed was one of the most controversial redemption arcs in internet history. When Logan returned months later, he was different, quieter, more reflective. He began making documentaries instead of stunts. He met with suicide prevention experts, visited survivors, and donated to mental health organizations. Slowly, painfully, he began to rebuild. In 2019, he reinvented himself yet again, this time as a boxer. His matches against fellow YouTuber KSI became massive global events, bridging the worlds of social media and sports. It was spectacle, yes, but it was also strategy. Each fight rebranded Logan as more than a reckless vlogger, as a businessman, an athlete, a showman who had survived cancellation. By 2021, Logan had fought none other than Floyd Mayweather, one of the greatest boxers of all time. It was surreal. A man once despised for filming tragedy, now standing in a boxing ring watched by millions around the world. He even launched Prime, a hydration drink with KSI, which became a billion-dollar brand. To many, he had done the impossible, transformed infamy into empire. Yet, for all his success, the shadow of Aokigahara never disappeared. Every article, every profile, every podcast still referenced the forest. The footage may be gone, but the memory remains a stain that fame couldn't wash away. Logan has often spoken about the incident in recent years. In one interview, he said quietly, "I didn't understand what death really meant. I thought I was immortal, that views justified everything. That day taught me what it means to be human." There's a strange duality to his legacy. To some, he's a symbol of redemption, proof that people can change, that the internet's villains can evolve. To others, he's a reminder that some lines once crossed can never be uncrossed. Even now, the clip of Logan in that alien hat standing before the lifeless body of a stranger remains one of the most haunting images in YouTube history. It captures the emptiness behind viral fame, the moment when performance swallows empathy, when the need to be watched becomes stronger than the instinct to care. In the end, Logan Paul's story isn't just about one man's mistake. It's about the culture that made it possible. A digital world where emotion is currency and morality bends under the pressure of the algorithm. Logan once said he started YouTube because he wanted to make people feel alive. Ironically, it was the moment he filmed death that finally forced him to confront what being alive truly meant. He built an empire, lost it overnight, and then built another. But no matter how many fights he wins or businesses he launches, one truth remains. There's no editing the past. They wanted fame. They got tragedy. In the summer of 2017, Monalisa Perez and Pedro Ruiz III weren't household names. They were a young couple from Minnesota chasing a dream through a camera lens. Their YouTube channel, La Monalisa, was small but growing, filled with playful pranks, challenges, and the kind of chaotic domestic humor that fuels the internet. They were young parents, Monalisa just 19, Pedro 22, raising their 3-year-old son while dreaming of YouTube stardom. But behind the smiles and hashtags, there was desperation. Their videos weren't taking off the way they hoped. The views weren't enough to pay bills. The algorithm wasn't kind. And so, Pedro decided to do something that would blow up their channel, a stunt so dangerous, so unthinkable, that it would end in death. Their plan was simple, at least in Pedro's mind. He told Monalisa he wanted to film the world's most dangerous prank. He would hold a thick hardcover encyclopedia to his chest, and she would fire a Desert Eagle, .50 caliber handgun, one of the most powerful pistols in the world, directly at him. He believed the book would stop the bullet. Monalisa hesitated. She was nervous, terrified even. But Pedro was insistent. He showed her another book he'd shot earlier. The bullet hadn't gone through, he said. He convinced her it was safe, that it would make them famous. On June 26, 2017, they set up 2 cameras outside their home in Hallstatt, Minnesota. Neighbors watched from across the street, curious but unaware of what was about to happen. Pedro held the book against his chest. Monalisa stood barely a foot away, holding the gun. The cameras rolled. Their young son was inside the house. "Are you sure?" she asked one last time. He nodded. "Trust me," he said. "It's going to be fine." Then she pulled the trigger. The bullet tore through the book instantly, and into Pedro's heart. He fell to the ground before the cameras, dead within seconds. The stunt that was meant to make them famous had killed him on the spot. In the aftermath, panic erupted. Monalisa screamed for help. Neighbors called 911. Police arrived to find Pedro's body beside the book, its pages shredded by a hole clean through. The gun lay nearby, still warm. The officers could hardly believe what they were hearing. She told them it was supposed to be a prank, that Pedro had begged her to do it for the video. The footage confirmed everything. It was all planned, filmed, and meant to go viral. Within hours, Monalisa Perez, 19 years old and pregnant with their second child, was arrested and charged with second-degree manslaughter. The story hit the news and spread like wildfire. Across social media, disbelief turned into horror. YouTubers, fans, and families couldn't comprehend how something like this could happen, how the need for attention could push a young couple to risk life itself. But to those who followed their channel closely, the warning signs were there. Their content had grown increasingly desperate in tone. Pedro often talked about wanting to do something crazy to get more views. In one tweet just days before his death, Monalisa wrote, "Me and Pedro are probably going to shoot one of the most dangerous videos ever. His idea, not mine." It would be the last tweet before tragedy. The trial was brief but heartbreaking. Prosecutors didn't portray Monalisa as a cold-blooded killer. They described her as a victim of her own naivete, manipulated by a partner consumed by fame. Still, the law demanded accountability. A man was dead. A child had lost his father. Another was born without ever meeting him. The footage of the shooting was never released to the public. Investigators described it as deeply disturbing. It remains sealed, locked away in evidence storage, a grim relic of a generation's obsession with being seen. During her sentencing in 2018, Monalisa wept openly. She told the court, "It's all my fault because I was the one who pulled the trigger." Pedro's family, though devastated, supported her. His aunt spoke in court, saying, "We forgive you. This was an accident, a horrible one." Monalisa was sentenced to 180 days in jail and 10 years of probation. She was banned from owning firearms or profiting in any way from the incident. She served her time in 10-day increments each year so she could care for her children. Her YouTube channel vanished. The videos were deleted. The dream that once defined her life was gone. Today she lives quietly in Minnesota, far from the cameras that once consumed her. But the internet never forgets. Every few years the story resurfaces, a cautionary tale about how far people will go for clicks. It became a grim symbol of the influencer era, when the boundary between entertainment and danger vanished. Forensic experts later explained why the stunt could never have worked. A Desert Eagle's .50 caliber bullet is designed for maximum penetration. Even car doors and concrete walls can't stop it. A book, no matter how thick, stands no chance. Pedro hadn't done the physics. He'd done the math of fame instead, thinking views could fill the space that money, recognition, and meaning hadn't. In the days after his death, their fans left messages under their old videos. "You didn't have to prove anything. Fame wasn't worth this. Rest in peace, Pedro." For Monalisa, every frame of footage is a ghost. She said in one interview years later that she can still hear the sound of the gun, that moment echoing endlessly in her mind. "If I could take it back," she said, "I would have thrown the camera away." Her story isn't about malice. It's about illusion. The illusion that the internet's attention is love, that fame is safety, that the more you risk, the more you're worth. It's about a world that rewards spectacle and punishes hesitation. When investigators replayed the footage privately, they noted one haunting detail. Just before she pulled the trigger, Monalisa took a deep breath. She didn't want to do it, but she did. Because in that moment she believed him, believed that the views, the subscribers, the fame would make it all okay. It didn't. In the end, all that was left was a ruined family, 2 orphan children, and a video that can never be shown. And in that silence, the silence between the shot and the scream, lies the truest sound of the internet's dark side, the echo of people dying to be seen. For more real-life crime stories that uncover the darkness behind the spotlight, subscribe and stay tuned for our next deep dive, because in this world, where trust ends, the crime begins.